Hello, I'm here today with Joanne Shaw Taylor, who's coming to me from an awesome looking library in the UK. She's home off the road for a few days, which, as far as I can tell, is unusual for you, Joanne. You're a very busy lady.
A
Uh,
little bit, yeah, I don't get much time off.
yeah, so I hope you're enjoying it. You look relaxed, you got your sunglasses on, and I hope you're enjoying some family time in a beautiful place.
I am, yeah, I'm on the family farm in Warwickshire. I've been here I was fortunate that we did a festival in Maidstone in the UK a couple of days ago, and then I had 5 days off before we do Romania. So I've come to hang out with family, and the sunglasses are on because it's either scorchingly bright in the UK and then 10 minutes later it's raining. So I'm trying to get used to whatever's
Yeah,
going
no, the
on here.
light behind you looks great. You have very dramatic backlighting. Um, so as I said, you really are out there a lot playing shows. Do you love live performance? Do
Oh
you?
God, yeah, that's my favorite thing. I mean, I love being in the studio. It's always like a nice break from, get to a point where, you're doing a year to 18 months of touring where it's nice to stop and have the other creative thing of being able to create songs and hear them, how the band plays them, and then get them recorded. But no, the live performance part is, I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, that's what I do at the end of the day. It's I write songs to try and make people feel something, and that's my job is to go out and live, hopefully make them feel something, and to get that sort of connection going is really lovely. So no, I genuinely really enjoy it.
So you, I believe, were discovered and became to public light by Dave Stewart when you were about 16 or 17, I think. So let's just step back a little bit before that. When did you start playing, and what drew you to the type of music that you've played?
I started playing guitar at 8. I was going to a little primary school in the little village I grew up in England. And as soon as you were 8 years old or whatever school year that would have been, you could pick an instrument, which was usually guitar, violin, or recorder. So I went with guitar, loved it, passed the test, started playing for the Birmingham Youth Ensemble. But it was an interesting thing in that I knew I could play guitar. It had given me the confidence, particularly as a young kid. It was that first thing of finding something I could do well. I was average at school, I was average at sports. And I think every little kid needs that sort of one little thing they can do that boosts their confidence. And that was guitar for me. And I was good at it, but I just hated the discipline of classical guitar, to be honest. And then my dad and my brother played guitar. My brother had switched to electric, and I discovered Steve Ray Vaughan and the blues. And it was just, for me, the blues guitar was, particularly example, Albert Collins. You wouldn't ever teach anyone to play guitar like Albert Collins. It's such a bizarre technique. Um, but I love that it didn't matter. There were no rules. There was no, discipline to that point. It was as long as you injected your own personality into it and made it your own, sort of all bets were off. So that was how I started. That was my big sort of lightning bolt moment.
I can't tell you how happy it makes me to hear you mention Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert Collins, two of my favorites. I mean, I'm about roughly 20 years older than you, and I was already out of step with my time, liking that
Uh,
music 30, 40 years ago, whatever it was. And, you came along after they were both deceased, I would think. You were listening to that, and
yeah. Yeah, there
yes,
were a lot. We were on the planet at the same time, but by the time I discovered who they were both gone,
right.
unfortunately.
Did that music just speak to you? Could like when yeah, you're absolutely right what you said about Albert Collins. Like nobody's going to say, put a capo on.
Yeah, and then
You
do
have it
the
usually on the seventh fret, play with your thumb,
yeah.
put the strap over your outside shoulder.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's absolutely the best
yeah,
way of playing it. No
get a
complications
get a
there.
quad reverb amp that's
Yeah,
impossible to
on
lift.
10.
And all of those things are what made him so unique. And I remember, at Guitar World, we would do these lessons. We did some kind of blues issue, and we had someone, I think it was Keith Wyatt, who's a great guitar instructor, do a lesson on how to play like 10 Albert Collins licks with Albert. And he was like,
Oh
why does people
wow.
want to learn how to play like me? Why don't they play like themselves? Like he
Yeah,
thought
okay,
he
well
thought the
how?
whole exercise was like Why does someone want to learn these? And of course we know why, but that really was where he was coming from. Uh,
Mm.
but you, so as a fairly young kid, when you were just were starting to play electric guitar, that music spoke to you?
Yeah, I'm not sure looking back it was because I've always said I get pigeonholed as a blues artist, and I think that's unfair to the audience because, if you're new to blues, I wouldn't recommend you pick up one of my CDs. I would recommend you pick up a Howlin' Wolf or a Muddy Waters or a BB King. I think I'm a blues guitarist that is a soul singer that likes writing pop rock songs.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's a few reasons for that. I think mostly I've always said I think I would have been I think my path in music would have been different if I'd been born a man because, I discovered blues guitar and this love for I already had a love for the instrument, and that genre of guitar playing allowed me to put sort of my personality into it. And I've always been the sort of person I still am now. I'm not very good at being taught things. You've got to give me a little bit of information, and then I can teach myself. Um, and so blues guitar was that. It's like, okay, here's the scale. Go and do with it what you will. Go and borrow a bit from here and a bit from there and make it your own. And I think the reason, as I said, I would have been a different artist if I'd been born a man. Problem was I wanted to sing and I wanted to write songs. And the guitar is a gender neutral instrument. I could borrow a bit from Albert Collins and make it sound a little bit like Albert. And, if it didn't sound like Albert, it wasn't because I was a woman, it was because of my lack of ability as a guitar player. Um, so when it came to trying to copy voices, I was never going to be able to copy, I was never going to sound like Howlin' Wolf or, Stevie. That is a far more gender specific instrument. So I had to find other inspirations and they tended to be outside of the blues. There weren't a lot of women in it other than Bonnie Raitt and, Coco Taylor. So it was Tina Turner and Christine McVie and Stevie Nicks and Sheryl Crow and, um, so I think when blues spoke to me, it was definitely more about the guitar playing than anything. I mean, I still love listening to blues music. Obviously, I'm a massive fan. But I knew I was never going to be able to write as well. I was never going to write Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, you
Right.
know. Um, so I have a
Nobody should write Good Morning Little Schoolgirl in
I
2025.
think we can
But
accept that was a product of its time.
yeah. Um,
Um,
uh, yeah, it's funny. I perform that and that one I do. I love the song, but when I sing it, I do question that a little bit.
what I loved it was I'm sure you know who Johnny Lang is,
Sure.
and
Yeah, well,
that
he
was a
was
big
actually a schoolboy when he did that.
exactly, and that
Yeah.
was a big influence on me because it was right around that first year of me learning to play. I was like, oh my God, I've discovered not only this music that I love and this expression, I can use to express myself, but now there's someone my age doing it.
Right.
Um, But yes, him singing Good Morning Little Schoolgirl when he was probably 13 and she was 14 is a bit more socially appropriate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's interesting what you said because it struck me when I listened. You just recently put out an acoustic version of it's hold. I'm sorry. So I want to get the
It's a
song
tangy,
title.
yeah, Hold of My Heart.
Yeah, thank you. The
Yeah, it
whole
gets me and I wrote it, so don't worry.
yeah. No, I know, but yeah, but putting it in an acoustic context after you had already released it as a electric full band song,
Mm.
it made it changed. You could hear the song differently. And it takes it a little bit out of like a blues or blues rock context. And I imagine that's more or less how you wrote it. And is that why you did that at all, or is it just a song that you thought
Yeah,
would carry well in that
that
way?
was exactly why I did it, is that I wanted to release the songs as they were written, as the demos. There's I'm a really big Amy Winehouse fan, and she had a beautiful ballad called Love is a Losing Game, which was on the Back to Black album. And obviously had that kind of what was his name? Can't remember right now. But anyway, I had that kind of Motown vibe. But there was a additional album they put out that had a few bonus tracks, and one of them was her original demo of it, and it was just her on a nylon string guitar singing it into a iPhone microphone or whatever. Um, and I loved that. And I just thought for fans, is it interesting to hear the song as it was intended and then how it sort of progresses in the studio of like adding in the band and then, Kevin Shirley coming in and maybe changing the arrangement. So I just thought that was maybe interesting for fans to hear the sort of progression of it and, how it was intended in the first place.
Yeah, I think it worked really well. And it also it just gives you a little bit of a different perspective, or gave me a little bit of a different perspective, anyhow, on you as a performer and a singer, because the focus really is on the song and on the vocal,
Okay,
rather
that's
than on the
interesting.
guitar
Yeah.
solo or the arrangement, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, when I hand songs over to Kevin, I'm actually finishing another album right now. I'm meant to be working on that. I'm not doing a very good job of of working right now. I'm having a holiday, but um, I send song over. It's me and an acoustic guitar because one, I think it does the song justice, and also he's producing the album, not me. So if I start overthinking it and putting on drum loops and putting down a bass line and keyboard parts, it's well, I may as well produce it myself. Give the blank canvas as much as I can to the producer, and then he can have his input. I think is important in the process.
And so when did you start working with Kevin? You've done how many with several with him, but how many and what was the first one?
Black and Gold, which has just come out, is the third album, I think. We're actually doing right now, we're doing a fourth album. But we did the first one in 2015, which was Wild. And then actually he was meant to do the follow-up album. And everything was booked. But at the time I was moving to Sony and the contract took longer than it should have. So we had to kind of jump ship because the contract wasn't in place and then COVID hit. So
Right.
everything got a bit derailed there for a minute.
Um, Now Kevin, of course, has become really well known over the last 10 years or so, or more, a little more actually, working with Joe Bonamassa, and
Yeah.
a long career, of course, before that with so many people. And anyone listening, just go look up Kevin Shirley, because I'm not
Yeah.
going to start
If
listing
it,
the
if there's a classic rock album that you like, he's probably had Aerosmith, Black Crowes,
yeah.
Zeppelin. He's had
And
something to do with it.
Joe was very open about the fact that when he started working with Kevin is what really turned his career around, got him moving. And he's on the record many times, including interviews with me and of course others. But from your perspective, what does Kevin bring to your records, and how are they different than if you were working with someone else?
I mean, I think for me, and I hope this, I'm not doing Kevin a disservice here, it's less about the music for me with Kevin as it is, and every artist different. For me, it's the trust part of it. We are really, really good friends. You know, he's just moved to Nashville now, so we're going to be neighbors as well. But he's been one of my best friends for a decade plus. And what I mean by that is, I mean, we're really friends. We go to work together and then we come home and have dinner together. You know, I know his wife and his kids. He knows my family. He knows who the songs are written about. You know, he's been there through my life. So for me, as an artist, it's really important to have that trust aspect because I'm handing over my babies that are about as stripped down as they can be. It's me and an acoustic guitar, and I'm handing them to someone that I trust to turn it into something that's not gonna, betray what I want them to be. Because if I was going to be so particular about it, if I didn't have that trust, or the way I put it is that I give 12 songs that's me and acoustic guitar. If I give them to Kevin Shirley, I'm getting Kevin Shirley's version of that Joanne Shaw Taylor album. If I give them to Joe Bonamassa, I'm going to get a different album because I'm going to get Joe Bonamassa's version of those 12 songs. So you've really got to trust or have that level of trust with someone that not only to do their job, the way he runs the band, the way he picks the band, the way he's very, very sympathetic to me and will always check in with me and go, do you like what I'm doing here? Do you like this arrangement? Because it's your album. You've got to gig them for the next 50 years. You know, as soon as he does the album, he's off to do another album.
Right.
I'm the one who's kind of got to live with them. So for me, the main thing with Kevin is just having that amount of sort of respect and trust with someone, which is also easy when they're a multi-Grammy winning producer that's obviously very good at their job. But it is nice having that connection.
Yeah, that's extraordinary that you have that kind of relationship with him. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he's a good. I mean, he drives me nuts.
Again, that's part of having a close
That's
friendship.
part of being friends.
Because and I'm sure, right, it gives you more, I would think, more freedom to stand up for yourself and tell him when you think he's wrong, because it's not like some big producer that you met 2 days ago. That's
Exactly. There's a comfort level there, and particularly as a woman, and I'm sure I've just turned 40, so a lot of women of my age will appreciate that. You feel bad about voicing your opinion when you're younger because you're being difficult, or whereas men are being assertive. So getting over that hump, but being able to do it with someone that you trust knows that, hey, I'm putting my hand up and saying I don't like this because it's not working for me. It's not a critique on your production. It's not a critique on the band. It just doesn't feel right, and that's a really lovely, secure environment to work from.
Has that in the broader sense, have there been specific challenges like you just mentioned to being a woman in this industry, in particular in guitar and blues oriented music, which does tend to be sort of macho?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've been luckier than most. I think from the get-go, I was very lucky that I was surrounded by really good people, particularly starting so young. And I still see it now. There's a lot of young artists that start at the same age and they've got, we call them dadagers, the dad that's the manager. And it's, whereas my parents were, we're coming to the gig because you're 17 years old and we want to know you're not going to get killed. We've got zero interest in being involved in the music you make. We trust you to do that. That's your career. So I was very lucky with that. I was very lucky, and then going to Dave Stewart, who had children my age, so I sort of moved in with him and was very protected. Um, but there's been little things that I just wouldn't have happened if was a man. I mean, I still to this day get described as a female guitar player, and or people tell me you're my favorite female guitar player. It's like, just tell me I'm not your favorite guitar player.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't have an ego. It's fine.
Right.
You can
Well,
tell me
being
I
a
think you're
female
a good
guitar
guitar
player
player.
is a female guitar player is a technically accurate description, but it's somehow really patronizing and diminishing.
Yeah, when you put favorite in front of it, it's a bit like, well, I mean, no one would say to Eric, Joe Bonamassa, you're my favorite blonde guitar player. Like, what the fuck's that mean? Like, just,
Right.
I'm not your favorite guitar player, is what you're
Right.
saying. And that's
Well,
fine.
to extend that, is there anything you think in your guitar playing that is, I don't know, feminine or distinctly that you do differently because you are a woman, or do I?
I don't think so. I genuinely think that the guitar is a gender neutral instrument. And I think that's what surprised or got me more attention early on, like very early on, like 15, 14, 16, was that I'm quite an aggressive guitar player. And I think it was still a period of time where men particularly didn't expect women could be aggressive. Like Steve Ray Vaughan's a heavy hitter. Albert Collins is a heavy hitter. And I learned from them. So was a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
But that's got nothing to do with being female. That's just how you play a guitar. I think it more came in, like I said earlier, I would have been a different artist if I'd been born a man because it became more in, okay, my voice. I can't change the timbre of that.
Right.
It's slightly deep for a female, but it's still obviously a feminine voice.
And
And then the songwriting. I mean, my experience of life is different to a man's experience of life. I'm coming from relationships a different way. And so I think that's probably more where it plays in.
well, just it just hit me. So this is unrelated to anything, but you're talking about heavy hitting women guitar players. Have you seen Celise? I mean, I think she's just fantastic.
I don't know if I have.
Yeah, I hope you get a chance to see her live.
Okay.
Check out some videos. Um, she's just wonderful, and she hits really hard.
Okay, I'll
She
check her
has
out. Yeah, I don't
she,
think I've come across her.
she uses pink half stack, so she sort of embraces the femininity while kicking it in the face at
Oh
the
yeah,
same
well,
time.
pink's my favorite color. Everything I
So,
own's pink.
yeah,
Um,
she's fantastic. Have you
um,
always been a Strat player?
I was very, very early on. And now, yeah, Telly is the main one after Albert. So the main guitar is actually a 1966 Esquire, so not a Telly, but I had a humbucker put in at the bridge, so
Oh, Albert.
I love Albert. I've got an Albert Collins signature model that Joe Bonamassa kindly gifted me,
Yeah.
which is the second favorite guitar.
What do you think the Telecaster does for you that Strat doesn't? I mean, why Tele over Strat?
Um, I think the telly's meatier. I find that I can hit a telly harder and it gives back, whereas I found that I was hitting a Strat and it didn't give me anything back. I think also because I started on the Steve Ray Vaughan train, that when you put a Strat in my hands, I still revert to being a 13-year-old trying to play Pride and Joy, and I pick up the same like bad habits. I think the telly helped me find my own personality. Um, I find Strats really hard to play. Some people say they think tellies are really hard to play, but for me, it's Strats. I just think a telly is just like pure block of wood that you can beat the living daylights out of, and it will really enjoy it. It's like there with you. Um, so yeah, I definitely prefer my tellies.
Have things gotten more difficult at all to be a UK based artist touring Europe post-Brexit and touring the US in this current environment where,
What current environment?
yeah, well, visas are
Um,
getting difficult and foreigners aren't always
I
so welcome at the moment.
Yeah, I think the whole world's a bit topsy-turvy at the moment, if I'm honest, and I think there's a lot of people that are unhappy, and they tend to look for people to blame for it, and often that can be immigration and freedom of movement. In terms of Brexit, I don't really know, to be honest, because it Brexit vote got pushed through, so we kind of backed off, as a lot of bands of my size did around that time. But then COVID hit, which made touring impossible. So this is actually the first year we're actually going back to mainland Europe. Um, so I think it's kind of settled down. I think they kind of figured it out, because that was the big concern. But the time was Europe was giving, because I'm US based, but I have a UK passport. So if I was coming to Europe, I think you're only allowed to go through a certain amount of countries and be there for a certain amount of days. So the problem would be if we're picking up a tour bus in London and then getting the ferry to go to a gig in Germany, but we've got to go through France and Belgium to get there. By the time we get to Germany, we've got to turn around and go get another
Yeah,
permit.
right.
Um, so it was more. I mean, I didn't vote for Brexit, because why would I? I'm an international touring musician. It would go against what I do for a living. I think it's taken a while to figure out the logistics, but it seems like they're starting to figure it out now.
Mhm. And where do you live in the US?
I'm in Nashville now. I was in Detroit for 15 years, but I've been in Nashville for the last three.
Did you say you were in Detroit for 15 years?
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Amazing. Well, my wife is from Michigan and is a
Oh, she is? Wait,
that,
what
that-
part?
she's actually from Bay City originally, but her parents
Oh,
are
okay,
from
beautiful.
Detroit. She has family all over the area.
I love Michigan. I moved there. I knew a band there and I wanted to tour there. So it was sort of, I've reached out to them, was like, hey, can you help me get a van, get an amp, and then
That's
just
amazing.
get touring through there. So, and also, I was a skint 22-year-old musician. So it was the one place in the world I could afford to live because you could get,
Yeah.
a
Where did you live in
warehouse
Detroit?
apartment. I was downtown for the first year and then suburbs, so like Royal Oak, Ferndale, Birmingham, Beverly Hills. Used to go up to Charlevoix and Beaver Island a lot. I love Michigan as a state. It's beautiful.
Amazing. It's a long way from that library you're sitting in right now
I
to
know.
Detroit. Um, yeah, you probably know Larry McCrae of Grand.
Oh, I know Larry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Where's on my, well,
Larry's a good
yeah.
friend, and he lives 7 miles from my in-laws, and they just moved after
Oh, yeah,
50.
because he's Bay City.
Yeah, he lives out in the boonies outside of Bay City. My in-laws lived outside of Bay City, and he lived 7 miles further. But one of my favorite parts of visiting up there was always seeing Larry. So I really am going to miss my visits there now that they've moved. But that's amazing. I didn't know you were in Michigan all those years.
No,
That's
I'm a Michigander.
absolutely 15
Still
years
follow the Red Wings.
gets you a Michigander stamp on the shoulder without a doubt.
I know. No, I think and I have to say, Detroit, particularly Michigan, has always been really kind to me. Like the comments from fans is still, when are you coming home? And it's not England, it's when are you coming home to Detroit?
Yeah.
It's lovely.
And I think that having lived several times in Michigan myself, mostly in Ann Arbor, De
Oh, nice.
yeah, Detroit and that whole region does have a really strong sense of music righteousness,
Oh, yeah.
and they're sort of a tough crowd, but also a wonderful crowd if they like you. So I think that's like a little bit of a trial by fire for you to come from the UK, end up in Detroit, and you made it there for 15 years and were accepted. That is like a stamp of American approval.
I think that's kind of why I liked it, because it reminded me of where I'm from, which is an area called the Black Country, which is Wolverhampton, really. It's next to Birmingham, and it's named that because the coal mines, so the sky was always black. But it is same thing, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Slade, some of Deep Purple, Robert Plant. Like it's the Detroit of England car industry. So I have always been attracted to those sort of working class, or as you say in America, blue collar places where there's something about those people that know how a hard life is, and they find a way to A, have a really good sense of humor, and B, be creative, because that's what kind of gets you through. So I immediately felt at home there, but it is that sort of thing of, as you just said, I remember in the early years of me being there, people would be like, well, if she's dumb enough to move to Detroit, we should keep her. You know?
Well, people in Michigan and Detroit in particular, I think, do have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder about how they're viewed by the rest of the country.
Hmm.
I think that they probably give extra love to someone from abroad who chooses to come to America and chooses
Yeah. If
place to live.
someone was,
I
yeah,
understand that
going to
psychology.
move from California to Wolverhampton, we'd be like, all right,
Welcome.
yeah, I'm not going to kick you
That's
out.
great. And how are you finding Nashville? I mean, it seems most of my musician friends who are in Nashville find it to be a bit of a musicianly heaven.
Yeah, I mean it's easy for me because I'm very fortunate at this point in my career that I'm not like a jobbing musician. I don't have to go and take other session work. I do one thing. I do Joanne Shaw Taylor, and most of that is touring, around the US and some international. So it's not like, I see these people dragging their amplifiers down a Broadway to do a 4 hour gig at midnight till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky I don't have to do that. But it has become sort of the music hub of the US. It's where all the labels are and the publishers. And so my day-to-day manager's there. Joe's there. He's got an apartment. Well, it's the main reason I moved. We're neighbours. We live next door to each other.
Oh, wow.
And Kevin's coming now, so the whole band's there.
Tell me about how you first connected with Joe Bonamassa and what role he's played in your career since then.
We first met. We both performed at a festival in Norway called Notodden, which is an awesome, awesome festival. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere in northern Norway, and it just takes over this entire little town for 3 days. And I was telling someone the other day, I realized the Nords could hold their drink. So I went out about 10 a.m. to go into one of the big tents out front, and it was just like massive. Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Sure, yeah.
Hodor? It
Yeah.
was just like 1,000 Hodors falling over because they've had too much beer, and I was trying to like dodge them. I was like, oh my God, these people are crazy. I love them.
Welcome to
Um,
Norway.
but we were supporting him, and he asked us up to jam, and then they put you in the same little hotel. And I got talking to him. We stayed up all night. I think it was 7 a.m. I eventually went up and packed my suitcase and had an 8 a.m. van call. Um, and it was just we both started at 13, and we both had our parents driving us in the back of the car down the motorway to go to gigs. And, we weren't child stars, we weren't Macaulay Culkin, but it was still a bit of a strange childhood. So to be able to find someone that also understood that, and he's the same as me. I'm a girl, I've got an opposite gender sibling, I've got a brother, he's got a sister. Um, Mom and dad used to drive us up and down the motorway. It was just very, very sort of similar background. So immediately we just kept in touch. And actually, the next day, my flight, I was going to Memphis to start recording a second album, Diamonds in the Dirt. My flight got cancelled and I got stranded in New York. And when I went to baggage claim, Joe was there with all his band and crew. So he said, well, why don't you come and stay at my hotel and meet my manager and, we'll look after you for a couple of days. And we've just been best mates. So it's, in terms of what he's done for me professionally, it's been a huge amount of support. But I think the most important thing for me was because he was ahead of me and still is ahead of me in his career. But, for me to be moving to the States, and I remember one night I was driving, we finished a tour in Maine, and I had to drive the van by myself to Detroit. And he just stayed on the phone with me. It's like, okay, as soon as you're getting tired, I'm buying you a hotel room. And I was like, I can't afford a hotel room. He's like, well, I can afford a hotel room. You're having a hotel room. So it was just like having that big brother that had already done it all, that was kind of, he made it way more easier. Because if I'd have done it by myself, I'd have still done it, but it definitely would have been a bit more scary.
That's really nice that it's I think Joe has had great taste to me and in the artists that he's helped promote. I don't know if he's been as hands-on with all of them as that. That's such a nice story. But Joanna Connor, Larry
Yeah.
McRae, Kirk Fletcher, Eric Gales have all really benefited from Joe working with them in various ways.
Yeah.
So
He's a good boy.
To me, you are all great artists, and so he's had very good taste in who he's helped boost, and I appreciate that because we all have more music because of that. I mean, who knows if
Yeah.
and all of you would have put out this music that you have without
No,
that.
I think the blues has been very lucky to have him.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of flack online, makes me furious because I'm a very protective friend of all of my friends, but let
Well,
alone who's in the
for the
public.
people
But
who criticize him, I would just say what I just said. You know, you can like his music or not like his music. That's everyone has their own taste, but just look at the artists that he supported and what that's done for the music.
exactly.
And if you
And
don't like any of those artists I just mentioned, you probably don't really like the blues. You got to be.
yeah, exactly. It's he's made a lot of people happy through his own music, and then he's helped a lot of people. So you can say it's not your thing. Great. Other than that, move on.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about Black and Gold. And I know you already have your brain probably onto the next record, but Black and Gold is your last release. So, let's talk about that a little bit. In what ways did you feel that it was a change or a step forward from what you had done in the past?
Well, it was kind of an interesting album to make because it was the 10th studio album. And I was also turning 40 when when I was writing it. Um, so for me, it kind of felt like an opportunity to tie up a decade of, or the first decade, I hope, of my recording career. So musically, what had I done that I hadn't done before that I wanted to do? Um, Again, going back to, I'm not a blues artist, I'm a blues guitarist that is, also a soul singer and a bit pop. It's sometimes hard to manage that in that there's you want to be true to yourself and make the music you want to make, but you also don't want to do something too extreme that alienates, these different sort of fan bases I have. It's sort of always about finding a middle ground. But it was really freeing to go like, actually, I'm just going to make this one for me, and what do I want to put out? And then that's the end of that decade, and I can go into a fresh decade. And also, what do I want to personally write about that therapeutically I just want to address some subjects that maybe I haven't, and then I can leave them in the past. So it's actually a really fun sort of therapeutic album to make. And I think I mean, the reviews, and by reviews, I mean the fan reviews, because those are the ones I look at, have been really, really positive. And I think hopefully, we've managed to manage all those genres that I love, and I think of me as an artist. Um, and it's come out a very well balanced album. So it was really fun to make.
And I think that you've developed this probably a strong enough fan base and relationship with your fan base because your music is, I think your songwriting, a lot of it is pretty personal. So I think that people
A
listening to
bit.
music feel that they know you, and especially I think you're very personable on stage. And so you have a relationship with your audience. And
Mm.
so I think that they probably are ready to go with you on your
It's it,
journey
it,
and pretty
it
accepting. If,
seems that way, and
yeah,
that
if
has
it's true to
gotten
you, they're
better.
going to feel it.
Yeah, that's definitely gotten better. I think. I mean, I've been pretty honest about the fact that COVID was a bit of a blessing in disguise for me, and I hate to say that because obviously millions of people lost their lives. But what I mean is, it was going to happen, and I was very burned out. I hadn't stopped since I was 13, and then my 20s were. I flew out when I was 22 to do the first time with Jim Gaines, and the day I got back, I found out my mom got ovarian cancer, which would end up taking her life. And my 20s were go and do a gig, meet Joe Bonamassa, come back, take mom to chemo, you know, go perform for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Oh, mom's chemo's not working. It was like, here's a good thing, here's a bad thing. Um, and then she did pass away, and managed to have time, thankfully, to fly home for the 12 days to see her through that and hospice care, and then plan the funeral, did the funeral, and then went straight back out on the road and didn't stop. Um, so by the time COVID hit, my label at the time, Sony, had kind of talked to me and said, "We think you're really burned out. We think you're in really bad mental shape. And if you can get through this year, we're going to give you 6 months off, which is 6 months of you're not Joanne Shaw Taylor, you're just Joe Taylor. You can go learn to cook, take lessons in yoga or whatever you want to do." And then 2 weeks later, the world shut down and I went home and I had 2 years off. And it really did me a lot of good because I didn't realize I think I started to dislike performing and my audience because in my head they were part of the problem. You're the reason I'm burned out.
Mm,
And it was such an unhealthy view um, that by the time I finally got back after COVID to making music and I was well rested, it was like, oh, one, I'm really, really lucky to do this. And more importantly, everyone in that audience has been through what I've been through. They've lost someone, it might be a parent, it might be a child, it might be a sibling, whoever, they're going through hard times. I get to write songs about it. And that is such a relief to me and helps me so much. And now I get to sing it to them. They don't get that privilege. So what they've got is me singing these songs that maybe they wish they could write or speaks to them, and I get to make them feel something, and it feels such a privilege to do it. Um, so and also again, as you said, I think I've realized I'm really bad at I am who I am. I hope I come across as a very genuine person. I'm from a very, very working class bunch of women that were very strong, but also knew if they didn't like someone. And I think that's the best way I can be who I am is just to be myself. And if you resonate with that, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. But as you said, I think that's enabled my followers to go, okay, well, if I don't like this album, that's okay because she likes it and I want her to be happy and she's doing what's right for her. And I think I've got a really lovely, supportive base because of that.
yeah, you said that. That was so beautiful what you just said. But
Oh,
I would
thank you.
just say uh I don't think there's that much chance that they won't like it because you're being so honest and revealing the fact that you
I
just
know, I'm almost angry with them for not like disliking it more. It's like, right, just because I like it,
no,
you
but
don't have to support me that much. I
if
won't
you
be
think of the
upset.
artists that you love, Albert Collins, Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Yeah,
Bonnie Raitt, who, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Alan Wolf, etc. They are people who, aside from their music, I think had such a strong sense of who they were
yeah,
as people. And so their music is a reflection of that because it's not just notes or writing a song. Or even if they didn't write the song, they chose the song to sing it for a reason.
yeah,
They are so sure of who they are, and they're conveying that in their everything, in their vibrato, to their
yeah.
note choice, to the
Yeah, it's
vibrato of their
exactly
voice, and the
who
way they
their
phrase
voice
a
is their
word.
voice.
And that's what people are responding to consciously or unconsciously as a person who is so sure of who they are.
Mm,
And sometimes the career, like, I wrote a book about Stevie Ray Vaughan and, really got to understand Stevie. And part of his whole career was the journey to find who he was, which he
yeah.
did in
But that
spades.
was something that I think a lot of kids my age, because I mean, Stevie was such an amazing guitar player. He was. It was, and it wasn't. There was just something about it that was like eating like really nice ice cream. It was so palatable, you know. He was such a lovely guitar player. There are guitar players that are very technical. There are, you know, and he was technically brilliant, but it also was just lovely to hear, and you could listen to it and never get tired of it. And then I think the main thing for me was digging into Stevie was even all through his drug years, which are well documented, and you know, you've obviously documented them, I still can't find one bad story about him. There's not anyone who's got a bad word to say about him, you know, even in
No,
his
the
throes
bad
of
words
addiction.
about Stevie aren't bad words. Like it's that, like, from his bandmate, he was just in the way that dealing with any addict can be
Yeah,
frustrating. He could
but
be
he
a
was still a nice person. He was just
unreliable,
like, how could you
very
do it?
nice
That's
person,
cocaine.
and he never really lost that. And when he was sober at the end, it came through in spades. In fact, I am going to come see you in a few weeks from now, and I'm going to bring you a copy of my book.
Oh, please do. I'm sure I've probably already read it, to be honest. What's it called?
Well, it's called Texas Flood. See.
Oh, I've read it. I got two copies.
Oh, really?
Yep, I got one in England and I got one in the States.
That's
Yep, but I would absolutely please bring me another one and write something in it because I would love
okay.
that.
That's nice. That's very touching. I co-wrote that with Andy Alador, who's a great guitar player in his own right. I'm a
Okay,
guitar player, and he's a great guitar player. I'm a guy who plays guitar. He's a great guitar player, as are you. So,
I'm a person who plays guitar and hopes for the
no,
best.
you're more
I'm in
than
that team. Don't worry about it.
thank you. I understand what you mean, but you're not. Um, well, Joanne, let's wrap it up here. Thank you very much for your
Oh,
time.
you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
know you're on break right now, which is well earned, and you don't have enough days off. So Thank you for taking some time off. Enjoy the rest of your holiday. Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you,
of your
love.
tour. I think you're going to be all through Europe before I see you in just a few weeks, really. So enjoy all that, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, love. Well, thank you for talking to me, and I love your t-shirt.
Thank you.
All right, take care, love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay on for one more second. I stopped the recording, I think. Yeah.